Guys, how are you doing? Right, I'm with you. How has your week been? Let me know. I'm sorry I didn't check in with you this morning. I ended up being unable to join for various reasons, but I'm here with you now and I would love to know how you were doing. It has been quite a week, very good in a lot of respects, a bit tiring in others. Haven't been sleeping very well this week. Let me know if anyone else is going through this or if things are looking good, which is awesome. We had a wonderful session on Zoom today. It was so nice to kind of connect with the people that have been showing up, to have someone new join the group who was such a valuable member. So, remember that we're there every Friday and we will be at least for the next few weeks. So come and join us from next week if you haven't yet. And something that came out from that is we were talking about, the difference between the things you say and the things you do. And how often we end up saying, like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, and this is important to me, and XYZ. But when you actually look at how you're showing up, how you're spending your time and energy, what you're actually doing, there's an incongruence there. It doesn't marry up. And I'll give you an example. So for me, I talk a lot about yoga and I love yoga, but I have done one yoga class in the last few months. So there's a disconnect there between something that I tell other people, yoga's amazing, you should be doing it. Not you should. You could be doing it. It has lots of benefits. And I love doing it. But when I look at my actions, I'm not doing it. So why is that? And so, one sec. Oh. I had a hair in my mouth. Anyway, sorry. So what I wanted to talk to you about today is how do you begin to bridge that gap between when you say you're going to do something and when you actually do it. Okay, so for a lot of us, the reason we don't do it is because of procrastination. We start putting it off because it seems too mammoth and overwhelming. Most of the time there's a hidden fear underneath that, so there's like this deeper down story about why we keep putting it off and why we're scared to do it. The term imposter syndrome is one that is quite popular at the moment, and it's about how we don't show up and do the things that we say we're going to do because we feel like we might get found out if we do that. Like, who are we to do these things? Or, I'm not a good enough yogi, why would I be doing yoga? Or you feel like an imposter. You feel like you're not good enough, or people are going to judge you. You're not going to fit in anymore. There's many different reasons, but for one of those reasons, you're being held back, and it's usually a limiting belief. It's not true, but you're believing that it's true, and it's stopping you from actually doing the things that you say you want to do. So I've quickly jotted down a few things that might help you with this. And get you to start taking action. So the first thing I've said is about doing the deeper work. So it's about uncovering what are those reasons, why. It's about finding out the why. Why do I put off doing certain things? What is actually going on there? And there's different ways to do the why work. For a big way to do it is therapy and counseling. And doing that deep kind of transformative work. Be careful though about getting stuck in a therapy loop where what happens for many people, and I know happened for me when I engaged with therapy, is I kind of went round and round in circles, uncovering, but not really doing anything to change it. So I find therapy was very useful in helping me figure out why. But then I needed something else to help me move forward, and that's where coaching is a really good option. So do some of the deeper work, and that can also be done in coaching, but it depends what your story is. Because if you've had a deeply traumatic life, or like had deeply traumatic things, and you haven't dealt with that trauma at all, not all coaches are equipped to help you deal with that. Nor should they be, because coaching is about moving forward and therapy is about going back and saying, this happened and I need to address that. So I do energy work as well as the coaching, and the purpose of the energy work is to help transform that inner trauma, but in a way that's not traumatic, if that makes sense. So therapy can sometimes feel a little bit traumatic because you're revisiting all the stuff that you've been pushing down for so long. What's nice about the energy work is that the trauma gets processed, but it's not always done within your conscious awareness, so it's a little bit easier to do. And it's targeted on such an unconscious level that it's quite hard to do that through talking. So yeah, so I think a holistic approach is always best. Do the talk therapy, do the coaching, do the energy work, like find the different modalities that work for you. But the intention here with this first point is get to the bottom of that deeper stuff. You know, create awareness, of course. Create awareness for what is your story. What is it that stops you from doing these things? What are your hidden fears? And once you know what they are, then you have options about how to deal with them. So that's the first thing, is to get you into action, is ask why. Why am I not doing this? The next thing you can do is very practical, and that is break it down into pieces. So sometimes the reason we're not doing something is because it feels too overwhelming. So obviously it depends on what the thing is that you're putting off doing, but yeah, it can feel too overwhelming. Whereas if you sit down and you break it down into smaller chunks, sometimes that can feel a lot more manageable. And you can create a plan, basically a strategy of going forward, and just knowing, what is my step today? What do I have to do today? So if you've got someone you could have this conversation with, you could sit and you can write the overall plan and say, right, this is the overall goal. These are the different things I need to do to get there. And it's useful to do that with someone because it's just nice to bounce ideas off and they can help you keep moving forward in the conversation. Again, coaching is really good for that. But if you've got a friend or a family member that can help you, then by all means do that too. But the important thing, especially if you're being that person for someone else, is not to give your opinion, but simply to be the sounding board. Because everybody is the expert of their life and they know what's best for them. So it's really about honoring that every person is creative, resourceful, and whole, and they know how to move forward. And you're simply providing the space for them to figure that out. So yeah, so break it down into smaller chunks so that today, you know, this is the thing that I have to do. It's one thing, especially if you're easily overwhelmed. It's one thing and I can sit and I can do that. Cool. Tomorrow, what is my next thing? And you go from there. And you just do it piece by piece by piece by piece. And before you know it, a week from now, it looks very different than it did a week ago. And a month from now, it looks completely different than it did a month ago. So take smaller steps. The next thing, and I've kind of touched on that already, is get an accountability buddy. All right? Two of my clients were in the group today and they both used the phrase and said, Kirsty's my accountability buddy. I'm like, yeah, I am. I love that word. I kind of made it up. You need an accountability partner. Somebody who will help you meet your deadlines that you set for yourself. So I've recently been chatting with a coaching friend and we have decided that we are accountability partners for each other. We're accountability buddies. And so we have a conversation about where we're at, we bounce ideas off of each other, and we come up with actionable steps, and we set a date, and we say, so like our next deadline is Thursday. So we're like, by Thursday, I need to send you a picture of this thing that I've done, and vice versa. And I find that incredibly useful because I don't want to pitch up on Thursday and not have anything to show. So I find that very motivating. Now, everybody's motivated differently, and some people like being... Like, I work really well under stress. I will leave things to the very last minute so that I have no choice but to just throw my all at it and get it done. And sometimes that's useful to, like, use that to leverage my energy, like, to get me into action. And other times, I wish I had started things sooner because maybe I could have taken a bit more time to do them more thoroughly rather than just, like, trying to get to the end of the deadline. That it's about knowing yourself and knowing what works for you and what doesn't work. But having somebody to be accountable to really helps. Again, this can be a friend, this can be a colleague, it could be a family member, and it could be a coach, myself, or any other coach that you resonate with, like a professional. But having someone to say, I'm going to do this by this date, and I'm going to check in with you then. Honestly, this is a game changer, like a game changer. So I definitely advise doing that. The next thing is your mindset. So doing daily mindset work to get you thinking in a productive way. So it's so easy to go down the rabbit hole of, oh, this is never going to work. Oh, I'm so overwhelmed. Oh, I've got imposter syndrome. Oh, why is life so hard? Like all of that. And we kind of go in this downward spiral into this fixed mindset where everything's hopeless. Like I was talking about the other day with the life positions about I'm not okay, you're not okay, there's no way out of this. It's very easy to get into that space. So doing the daily mindset work, things like keeping a gratitude journal, using affirmations, doing other types of journaling, working with mantras, like all of that stuff will help you get into a better headspace. And when you're in a better headspace, it's much easier to do the things that you say you're going to do than when you're in a bad headspace and you're feeling terrible and you're just like, there's no point. So do the daily mindset work. Super important. The next one is take care of yourself, your self-care. So a lot of the time, you're not doing the things that you say you want to do because you don't have the energy to do the things that you say you want to do. So this is one where that I fall into quite a bit, where I don't take care of my energy. So how this might look, and there are so many self-care resources in this group. So just like put in self-care in the search bar and you'll see so much stuff come up if you want to have a look at that. How this could look is things like eating lots of processed, sugary, fatty foods. Like it brings your energy down. Your body has to work so much harder to process all of that than it does if you were eating nutrient-dense kind of natural foods. So that drains a lot of your energy and doesn't leave you with all that much to then go forth and conquer the world. Okay, so look at your diet. Are you drinking enough water? We have to be hydrated, and when we're not hydrated, it affects our thinking, it affects our energy levels. So things like that, like look at your physical self-care. Are you getting enough sleep? Like all of that. And also remember, it's not just about physical self-care, it's also about emotional self-care, mental self-care, and spiritual self-care. So again, it comes back to those daily habits. How are you honoring your needs every day? How are you taking care of yourself every day so that you can show up and be the person that you want to be? Okay. So if you're drinking too much caffeine and it's getting in the way, start cutting back on the caffeine, okay? As an example. If you know that meditating gets you into a good headspace at the beginning of the day, come and do the morning meditation, all right? Or do your own meditation, that's fine too. But these resources are there for you, so use them. Use them, and it'll be much easier to start walking your talk and actually doing the things that you say you want to do. All right. And then there's some practical stuff like productivity hacks. So, using like the Pomodoro technique, which is a time management tool, which gets you to take a big thing and to break it down into different time slots, or do time blocking. So there is a video in this group, one of our afternoon advice sessions, I spoke about productivity hacks. So again, go look at that in the search bar and you can find out more information about Pomodoro technique, time blocking, how I schedule my time and my activities and all of that. But use those tools to help you break stuff down and get stuff done. So for me, just to recap, it's a combination of practical stuff, mindset and spiritual stuff, and that kind of deeper work, and having the accountability. Like I cannot emphasize that enough. It just makes it so much easier. So yeah, looking after yourself, doing some practical things, doing the mindset work, the deep inner work, leaning on your spiritual practices to help you get energized, to raise your vibration, to get you into a better feeling place, a better thinking place as well, makes it much easier to start doing, and have somebody to check in with about all of that. And I'm telling you, if you can start, doing just little bits of each of those, it's going to make a world of difference. And that really is doing the work. So I invite you to think about it. Take a moment of reflection, take stock, and think about, like, every day, how are you using your time? And the things that you are doing, are they leading you towards the life that you imagine for yourself or the goal that you're trying to achieve? Or are they taking you away from it? So it's like you're standing at this forked path, and the one path leads to the life of your dreams, and the other path is what will happen if you continue doing things the way that you're doing them, if the way that you're doing them is not so great, not so good for you. So it's kind of like looking down those two paths and getting really honest with yourself and saying, how am I showing up currently? Is it leading me that way, or is it leading me that way? And if it's leading you in the unhelpful way, going, well, what can I start doing differently? And maybe implementing some of the ideas that I've given you today. So yeah, that's my message for you to end off the week. Take some time this weekend to relax, to get your energy back up again, and start the week, fresh again. So thank you for those that have voted in the poll about what's been useful to you during our lockdown routine. I'm going to put another poll in tomorrow with some ideas of what I thought we could start implementing from Monday onwards. So I'd love your feedback on that as well. Let me know what speaks to you, what will be helpful. So do look out for that. And let's co-create this experience together. The more that we can all have input, the better this group will be, because then we're getting what we want out of it. So it's not just about me putting stuff out there and that's what you get. I want to know what you want, and then I will do that accordingly. Cool. All right, enjoy the rest of your weekend. I likely will not be live this weekend. I've got a ton of stuff I need to get doing, and also I find it useful to have a break. Plus I want to kind of hit the reset button on what we're going to be doing in the group. So thank you so much for joining me today, or if you're watching this on the replay, thank you for coming back and doing that. Please give this video a like or a comment to say hello, or if you found it useful, or if there's any tips that you have that have really worked for you about how to start taking action, please pop them in the comments, because they might really be useful to somebody else. Okay. Enjoy your weekend. I'm sending you love, and I will check in with you in posts as we go. Cool. Bye guys.